Hello everyone. Here is a little review on integers that we've been working on in class. So starting off with integers, first thing we wanted to just kind of to get into it is a review of what is a whole number. So think about that for a second. Now, what is a whole number? Okay, and when we thought about that, it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you can go on infinitely. Any whole number, okay, has no decimals, no fraction, okay, it's a whole number and it includes 0. But whole numbers don't include negative numbers, and that is when we get into integers. So if you think about what is an integer, it's just like the whole numbers, except there's an equal set of numbers going in the opposite direction, becoming more negative. So if we look here, we got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, when we're talking about integers, we can also talk about them as 0, positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, positive 4, positive 5, positive 6. And we have also infinite numbers going the other direction, becoming more negative. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, and negative 6. So we talked in class about, what is an integer, or especially a negative integer. And you really have been having an example of these for most of your life. For example, the temperature. We talked about if things are negative 2. Okay, we have temperature at 0 being freezing, negative 2 is below freezing. Your bank account. Okay, if you take money out of your bank account goes down, and that would be negative. If you took $50 out of your bank account, it would be negative 50 as the integer. Anyway, that's just kind of a baseline of what integers in. Now we're going to get into a little bit about representing integers. Hello, so now we're going to work on representing integers, and not representing integers with counters, which we'll do next. Just kind of representing integers with real life situations, which you have been doing most of your life, maybe not recognizing that they were integers. So the first one that we're going to do is the temperature going up 5 degrees. Now, what integer represents that statement? Okay, so temperature is going 5 degrees more positive, so it's going to be positive 5. And we say positive 5 with integers. We don't say plus 5, because plus is a mathematical operation, so we say positive 5. So our next one is the temperature going down 5 degrees, so just the opposite. It's getting a little cooler. Okay, so then we think, okay, well, think about that. If it was positive 5 for 1 and up 5, then it's going to be negative 5. So again, we say negative 5. We don't say minus 5, because minus is a mathematical operation. I know kind of in our daily language we might say that and we understand what we mean, but for math purposes, we want to say positive or negative. Okay, so our next example is here. Okay. Depositing $35 into your bank account. Okay, so this is one that has been some confusion for us, because we think of or depositing money into our bank account, and some people are thinking of it as, well, I'm taking $35 from myself and putting it into my bank account. So it's like I'm losing $35. But we're talking about just the level of your bank account. So if you deposit $35 into your bank account, what integer does that represent? Okay. And the answer is positive 35. Okay, use positive 35 because you're adding $35. You have $35 more in your bank account, so it's going to be positive 35. Our last one that we're just going to use as an example, okay, is going back 4 spaces in the game of life. So you've been using negative integers for a lot of your life playing board games, Snakes and Ladders or Chutes and Ladders, Game of Life, Sorry. A lot of those games involve negative integers. It's like going back 4 spaces. Okay, so if we have here, going back 4 spaces, okay, it's going to be negative 4. All right, so -4, not -4. And those are just some real life examples. There's other ones, of course, that we talked about in class, but that's just a review of the terminology and examples of representing real life situations as integers. All right, now we're going to move on to representing integers with counters. So now we're going to talk about representing integers using counters. So we've learned in class that we are using yellow. So one yellow counter, okay, equals +1. Okay. One red counter equals -1. And together, when you have one yellow one and one red one, we are calling that, okay, a zero pair. Okay, super important that we understand the concept of a zero pair. So what that means is this together, we're starting at 0, we add 1, and then we subtract 1, we end up with 0. So one positive and one negative together equal a zero pair. All right, so now let's look at some examples of representing some integers and what they might mean. So here we have 1, 2, 3 red counters. Okay, now think about what integer that represents. Okay, so that is -1, -2, -3. Okay. Now what if, okay, we add in one yellow counter. Now what number is represented by that? Okay. So we had -3 when there was 3 counters. Now we have a yellow marker, one +1. Okay. And when we look at that, we look at this and we go, okay, these two right here are a zero pair. So that's 0. Okay. We have +1 and -1. And we're left here with, okay, 1, 2, -2. So that represents -2. Okay. Now, there's so many ways, there's infinite number of ways we could represent -2. So let's start again with just -2. So we got 2 red counters is -2. Okay. So now we got, if I add a zero pair, okay, I add one negative counter and one positive yellow one. That still is -2 because this, what I've just added, is 0. So now if I add another zero pair, okay, this still represents 2 because these ones on this side is 0. Okay. 2 zero pairs. Okay. So if I want to go and I want to add in, say I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I also add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've added 0 7 times, which is 0. So that still represents -2. Okay, so there's literally infinite numbers of ways that you can represent every integer. So I'm just going to clear that. Okay, so now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've looked at that. Now what number is represented there? Okay, so I've got them nicely lined up, and they won't always be lined up like that for you. But if we look here, we've got, okay, we've got a zero pair, another zero pair, another zero pair, another zero pair. I should have drawn them a little further apart. And I'm left with -1, -2, -3. So that is represented number as -3. Okay, let's do another one down below. Okay. 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 Now what number is represented by that? Okay. This one is a little more difficult just because I haven't lined it up. Okay, but if I was to I can see that there are 2 negative counters, 3 positive counters. I know it's going to be +1, but it's easy if I can line them up and make 0 pairs, so there's no mistake. So I'm going to rewrite this over here. I'm going to rewrite this as there's 1 negative counter, 1 negative counter. Okay, and then I've got 3. Okay, now I can see clearly. Oh, I've got a 0 pair here, a 0 pair here, and I'm left with +1. Okay, so that is another example of how to represent integers with counters. Okay, I'm just going to clear this and do a couple more examples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So now we have to see. Now it's again, this one's a bit more scattered, so not as easy. So I like to line it up into 0 pairs. You could also do this though. You could also say, well, okay, I know that's a 0 pair. I know that's a 0 pair. Okay. I know that's a 0 pair. Okay, this one and this one, 0 pair. And this one's a 0 pair. They're all 0 pairs. Okay, what does that mean? That means our answer is 0. Okay. Now, I would like to see more clear if I just kind of rearrange them. So I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can clearly see, okay, that these are all, there are 5 0 pairs. Okay. So the answer is 0. All right. So that is representing integers with counters. Next, we're going to work on adding integers with counters. So now we're going to start adding integers using counters. And so I've got 2 questions here to start off with. Top one says +2 plus +3. Now the first thing that we do is we're going to represent this first number using a counter. So +2. So we've got +1, +2. Now all we need to do, okay, is now we're going to add in the other counter. So there's +3, so that's 3 more yellow ones. We're going to just put them into a group. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So +2 plus +3, we've got 2 yellow markers. We added 3 yellow markers for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so our answer is going to be +5. Now that's a question that you've been doing since you were much younger. Okay, it really was 2 plus 3. And sometimes it gets a bit confusing when we add like positives in front. But really it's just 2 plus 3, and that's a way to do it using counters. Now down below, we have +2, okay, plus -3, so a little different. So we're going to start off with, again, we start off with the first number. 2 yellow markers, which shows +2. So now we're going to add -3, okay? So, okay, so now we're going to go add, so we're going to add -1, -2, and -3. Now when we look up here, I've lined them up, okay? So now we look, okay, I can see when I have this right here is a 0 pair. And right beside it is another 0 pair. So all I'm left with, okay, is this single red tile, which means the answer is -1. Okay, so you want to line up, get your 0 pairs, okay? It's also not a bad idea you can put like an arrow over here, okay, to say that that's not a very good arrow, to say that you're getting rid of that, and the answer is left is -1. Okay, all right. I'm going to give you a couple more examples. So our next two questions here, we got the top question, -3 plus -4. So we're going to start off, there we go, sorry about that. It's -3, -1, -2, -3. So now we're going to add -4. So we're adding a negative. And adding a negative, as we talked in class, is the same thing as subtracting a positive. So if I'm adding negative to something, it's going to get more negative. Okay? So now we're going to add -4. So we're going to add -1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So we have -3. We added another -4, another 4 red tiles. Okay? And then we need to complete with our answer. Okay? We need to make sure we write. So we have, our answer is going to be -7. Now the one on the bottom, -2 plus +7, these ones are a little bit different because we're not just adding, we actually have to make 0 pairs to make this work. So we're going to start off with -2. So we got -1, -2. Okay, so now we're gonna add +7. So when we're adding a positive, okay, things are gonna get more positive. So we're gonna add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So now again, we can see here we've got, well, by lining them up this way, I can see that right here I have a 0 pair. Okay. And then right beside it, I have another 0 pair. So that's 0 and 0. And then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know that my answer is +5. Okay, so that is basically how we add using counters. And now we're going to move on to adding with a number line. So adding numbers on a number line, okay, we're always going to start at 0. So we've got, here's 0. I like to draw a little line up so I know where this helps me to start. I'm going to go to the first number, okay, from 0 to this number on the number line, -3. Okay, so this side is is negative, and this side more positive. Okay, so we're starting at 0, -3. So -1, -2, -3. Okay, so now we're at -3. Now we're going to add -2. Now you're adding a negative. Is that going to make it more negative or more positive? Okay, if I add more, we talked in class about things that were negative like pain. If I add pain, are you going to feel more negative or more positive? And you're going to feel more negative. It's going towards the left still. So we're starting at -3 now. Okay, and we're going to go -1, -2, and we're going to end up at -5. Now the last thing to do is in here where the answer is, you're going to actually write -5. On an assessment, you need to also write this -5. You're showing me with a number line, but then I want to see you write it up there as well. So -3 plus -2 equals -5. And that makes sense because you add two negatives together, you're always going to get a negative. Now down below, we've got -6 plus +5. Okay, so again, we start at 0. Okay, we're going to do a line up to start 0, and we're going to from 0 to this number first, -6. Okay, going -1, -2, 3, 4, 5 to -6. Okay, so now we're going to add +5. We're adding a positive. Going to be more negative or more positive? We're adding a positive, so it's going to be more positive. So we're going to be moving to the right. Okay, so I am here. I'm going to go +1, +2, +3, +4, +5. Okay, and then you can say that my answer is -1. So I'm going to write my answer of -1 there. Okay, and that is adding on a number line. I'm just going to give you 2 more examples of that. So our next question is +2 plus -7. So as we said for all our other examples, we're going to start at 0. So we're at 0. Okay, I like to draw a line. I'm going to go to +2. So moving to the right, more positive. 2 to the right, more positive. Okay, now we're adding -7. Does that make it more negative or more positive? Adding a negative always makes things more negative. So we're going to go 7 to the left. negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7. Okay, so we can see our answer is negative 5. We want to put our answer there. Okay, the last one is positive 2 plus positive 4. Again, okay, that's just 2 plus 4. Okay, so we got, are we starting at 0? We're going to positive 2. Then from there, we're going to add positive 4. So we're getting more positive. We're going to the right again. Positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, positive 4. Okay, and then we're going to end up at positive 6. So our answer is positive 6. Okay, so that is adding numbers, adding integers, on a number line. Now we're going to do subtracting integers with counters. So subtracting integers using counters. This has proven to be the trickiest for many of you in the class. So hopefully this will help. So we're going to just start the same way with addition. We have positive 3 subtract positive 2 on our question here. So we have positive 3. Okay, so positive 3 is going to be yellow counters. Okay, so I'm going to go positive 1, positive 2, positive 3. So now we want to subtract positive 2. Now, are there two counters that we can take away? 2 yellow counters? There are. So subtract positive 3, subtract positive 2. We have 3. We have 2 here that we can take. So I'm going to circle these 2. I'm going to take an arrow, and just to show I'm getting rid of them, and I'm left with 1 yellow counter, which means my answer is positive 1, which makes sense because this question is only 3 minus 2, which you guys have been doing for a very long time. But sometimes with the counters, it gets confusing. So you don't need to, if you have the counters there, you don't need to add any 0 pairs or anything. Okay, the next one, negative 4. Subtract positive 2. Oh, so it looks like I made a little, didn't put the bracket all the way around there. So let's just add a bracket on there. Okay. So we got negative 4 subtract positive 2. So now we're thinking, okay, negative 4. That's going to be 4 red counters. So negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Now we want to subtract positive 2. So we need to subtract 2 yellow counters. Okay? But we don't have any yellow counters. So what are we going to do? All right, we have to add some 0 pairs. So we're going to start adding that. So this is like this represents negative 4 right here. So if we add in 1 red one and 1 yellow, we add a 0 pair. This still represents negative 4. Okay, we just added 0. It's negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and a 0 pair, still negative 4. Do we have 2 that we positive 2 yellow ones we can take away? No, we only have 1. So we need to add another 0 pair. So add a counter there. Add another 0 pair. Okay, so now negative 4 subtract positive 2. Do we have 2 yellow ones we can take away? Yeah, we do. We do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to circle them. Okay, we're going to circle them. These 2, we're subtracting that positive 2. We're going to take an arrow and to say that we're getting rid of it. And now what's left? We have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. So our answer is negative 6. Okay? And does that make sense? Well, we started off with negative 4 and we subtracted a positive. We're taking positivity away. It makes sense that it should be even more negative. Okay? So negative 6. All right, we're going to do a couple more examples of these. So our next question, positive 6 subtract negative 7. Okay, so again, we're going to start with our number on the left. Okay, so we've got positive 6. So we're going to go, that is yellow counters. Okay, so we're going to go positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, positive 4, positive 5, positive 6. All right, so we got positive 6. So now we're going to subtract negative 7. Okay, now I know subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive, so my number should be more positive, should be a higher number. But I'm using my counters to make sure. I'm going to subtract negative 7. That means I'm subtracting 7 red counters, but I don't have any red counters there. So I know that I need to add 7 zero pairs. Okay, so I'm just going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so now we've got subtract negative 7. Now I have, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 7 negative numbers, negative integers, red tiles I can take away. So I'm going to circle those. Okay, I'm going to take a little arrow. I'm getting rid of those. So now what am I left with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Positive 13. Okay. So subtracting a negative, same as adding a positive. So positive 6 plus positive 7. 6 plus 7 equals positive 13. That makes sense. That's my answer for that. Okay, the last one in this thing we're going to do is negative 5 subtract positive 10. So again, negative 5. So we're going to start off with negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Okay, we're going to subtract positive 10. Now I know it's subtracting a positive, okay? It's going to be more negative. I'm taking positivity away, so I know it's going to be a lower number. But I don't have positive 10 I can take away. That would be 10 counters, 10 yellow counters. So I'm going to add in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm making zero pairs here, so just to see. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now here we got our negative 5. We haven't changed this. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. And then we have 10 zero pairs. So this thing still says negative 5. So now we need to take away positive 10. We need to take away 10 of the yellow counters, which we can do. So we're going to take these, circle them, arrow on them, and then what are we left with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, negative 15. That is how we work on subtracting integers using counters. So now we're going to do subtracting integers on a number line. So similar to adding numbers on a number line, adding integers on a number line, we're always going to start at 0. So here we are at 0. So the first one is positive 6, subtract positive 3. So there we go. So I'm going to go, and I like to do this line here. Okay, so now we're going to go from 0, we're going to go to positive 6. Okay. One, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So we're going to go to positive 6. Then we're going to subtract positive 3. We're subtracting a positive. Is that going to make it more positive or more negative? Okay. Subtracting a positive is going to make things more negative. We take positivity away from you, makes things more negative. So we're going to go positive 3. So 3 to the left. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then we can see here we're at positive 3. So our answer is positive 3. Okay. If we're not sure if like the number line is not our best way to do this, we could also check with counters and make sure that we're doing that. Okay, remember, subtracting a positive, same thing as adding a negative. So you could do it that way too. Next one is negative 2 subtract positive 3. So again, we're going to start at 0. Okay. And we're going to go from 0 to negative 2. Negative 1, negative 2. Then we're going to subtract a positive. So we're subtracting a positive. We take positivity away, it's going to make us more negative. Okay? Subtracting a positive. Okay? So just like that last question when we subtracted a positive, but now we're going from negative. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we can see that negative 2 subtract positive 3 equals negative 5. Okay. We are going to do a couple more of these. So our next question is negative 4 subtract negative 2. Okay. So again, just like we always do, we're going to start at 0. Okay, so we're starting at 0, and we're going from 0 to negative 4. Okay. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Okay. So now we're going to subtract negative 2. So we're subtracting a negative. Is that going to be over here this way, more negative, or is it going to be this way, more positive? Okay, you're subtracting a negative. Say you have pain in your life, and that's a negative, and I subtract that pain. Are you going to feel more positive, more negative? Okay, you're definitely going to feel more positive. We also know from in class, subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. Okay, so we're going to be going to the right. We're going to be making more positive. So now we're going to start at negative 4. We're going to go, okay, this way and to 2 this way, and our answer is going to be negative 2. Okay, so negative 4 subtract negative 2 is going to be negative 2. Okay, our last question for subtraction on a number line, we're down here, we're not positive 2. So again, okay, we're going to start at 0, and we're going to go from 0, we're going to go to positive 1, positive 2. Now we're going to subtract a positive. Okay, so, which way are we going to go? Subtracting to the left or to the right? Okay, subtracting a positive is going to make things more negative. Okay, so we are going to go 4 to the left. So from 1, 2, 3, 4. And our answer is going to be negative 2. Okay, so that is how we are subtracting integers on a number line. Just going to follow up with a couple of mistakes that I've seen to make sure that we are clear on my expectations. So just to wrap up, I wanted to go over a few mistakes that I see that are quite common on assessments, and I wanted to make sure that you're clear on my expectations. So the first question, positive 3 minus positive 5. Okay, sometimes often what I see is this, and it's not acceptable for what we're looking at. I want to see your understanding of using the counters. So some people write positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, okay, minus positive 5 equals negative 2. Now that's right, okay, but it's not showing me the understanding of how to use the counters to help you. Okay, so what I need to see, okay, is we got positive 3, just like I did just earlier. And we're going to subtract positive 5. We don't have positive 5 to subtract. So what do we need to do? We need to add 0 pairs. So we're going to add 2 0 pairs. So there's the 2 yellow ones. Okay. And now we're going to subtract positive 5. So we needed 5 yellow ones, and we do. We're going to circle those 5. Okay. Put an arrow to show that you're getting rid of them, and we're left with negative 2. So our answer is negative 2. That's what I need to see, okay? This top part is not going to get any marks for you because we're looking at your understanding of how to use the counters as a tool to help you. So now on the bottom one, we've got positive 7 subtract positive 4. Okay, so I'm going to start with, I got my positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, positive 4, positive 5, positive 6, positive 7. Okay, now I'm subtracting positive 4. Do I have positive 4 right now that I can take away? Yeah, I do. Okay, so I'm going to circle those 4, put arrow to get rid of them, and I'm left with my answer of positive 3. We do not write, okay, like the one just before. We don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, positive 7. I'm just gonna do it this way so I can save my. Okay, that's not correct. Okay, I need to see you using the counters as a tool. Okay. All right, got just one more thing to show you to wrap it up. Okay, so lastly, we have this question that I want to go over with everybody and a couple ways to solve it. So the highest temperature of the year was positive 32 degrees. The lowest temperature of the year was negative 11 degrees. What was the difference between the hottest temperature and the coldest temperature? So maybe stop this video right now and think about that, and then I'll go over a couple ways that you could solve a question like this. I'm going to say one way that you could do this, okay, if I had like a number line, okay, and here's 0, so this is like a thermometer, but I got it on its side. You could do it the other way. And on one side I've got, up here, the high was positive 32, okay, and the low, so this is 0. I don't need to write all the other stuff because it was negative 11. Okay, so you have to figure what is the difference between the low temperature and the high temperature. Okay, well, you could look at, okay, well, the temperature between 0 and 32 is positive 32. And then between 11 and 0, okay, from negative 11 to 0, you go up positive 11 to get to 0. So then if you add those together, you're going to get positive 43. So that is one way to solve a question like that. So the distance between here to 0, from them 0 to 32, and then add them together. Okay, so that's definitely one way you could do it, and it's a great way. It's a great way to do it. Another way to do it, using a number line, is just to reread the question and see the highest temperature year was positive 32 degrees. The lowest temperature of the year was negative 11 degrees. What was the difference between the hottest temperature and the coldest temperature? So I want to just highlight one word in here. The difference. What does that mean, the difference, in math? The difference is the answer. So difference is the answer to a subtraction question. Okay, so let's look up here. So we've got 32 degrees on one end, and the difference between that and 11. So it's a negative 11. So that's positive 32. Subtract negative 11. Okay, and what does that equal? I could use counters. I could use a number line. I could also know that subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. So I know that it is the same thing as positive 32 plus positive 11 equals positive 43. So I can turn this into just do a simple subtraction question, what might be the easiest way to solve this problem. But there is another way. Okay? Well, it's the difference. Well, what's the difference between negative 11, okay, subtracting positive 32? Okay. Well, I know subtracting a positive could make it more negative. So that answer is going to be negative 43. Okay. And that's also right. There's two right answers to that. Just on the number line, when we did the number line too, if you had started at the high temperature and gone to the low temperature, it would have been negative 43. When you start at the lower one and go to the top, positive. You only need one of these to get the right answer for a question like this on an assessment. All right. That's the end of this little review. I hope that's helpful for you. If you have any other questions, please come and see me. Thanks, everybody.